ShadowCam Wisconsin got a hold of this customer relations guidance memo on photography and filming on postal property. It was put out by the post office, and he was amazed, shocked, amazed, distraught as to this question and answer right here. Can someone conduct photography, filming inside postal facilities? The answer to that, according to the post office, was no. Any photography or filming inside postal facilities must be approved in advance by management. Now, why would he be shocked and amazed by that? If we look, this is the audit where he got the memo. He filmed poster 7. Poster 7 talks about photographs for news, advertising, or commercial purposes. Now, I do want to point out, this should give you a little bit of guidance as to what they're trying to do here with this section on photography, is it is under the section called specific restrictions. They're restricting your right to film. In this section of specific restrictions, they talk about disturbances. You can't do them. Gambling, can't do it. Alcoholic beverages, drugs, and smoking, can't do it. Soliciting, engineering, collecting debts, vending, or advertising, can't do it. Tables, chairs, freestanding signs or structures, can't have them. Public assembly and public address, can't have it. Depositing literature, can't do it. I wonder what they're going to talk about in this section on photographs for news, advertising, or commercial purposes. Well, let's find out. This is the portion that ShadowCam Wisconsin reads when he reads this sign. He reads, photographs for news purposes may be taken in entrances, lobbies, foyers, corridors, or auditoriums when used for public meetings. And then he puts a little period at that and he walks away. Now, the problem with that is there is no period there. The problem with that is that sentence continues. And the meaningful portion of that sentence is this part, except where prohibited by official signs or security force personnel or other authorized personnel or a federal court order or rule. This little piece right here in the section specific restrictions is designed to restrict your right to photograph. You'll notice our penalties and other law over here. It's based on 232.1, conduct on postal property, subsection H5I, photographs for news, advertising, or commercial purposes. In the CFR, not on the sign for whatever reason, but in the CFR, they put the meaty part first. They start off with except as prohibited by official signs or the directions of security force personnel or other authorized personnel or federal court order. Now, who wrote Poster 7 and who wrote 39 CFR 232.1? It wasn't Congress, so we can rule that one out. It wasn't your state or local legislature, so we can rule those out. The U.S. Postal Service, the U.S. Post Office, they wrote this. The same people that wrote this policy memo wrote this CFR. So if you're wondering why this says you can't do it, you may want to rethink your understanding of this, because this says you can't do it. You have to have permission. I know it doesn't say, oh, you've got to get permission, but that's the thrust. That's the brunt of it. Because what this policy is telling the postal employees to do is to deny you permission. It's to prohibit it. They're telling their postal employees to prohibit it. Now, you may baffle them with bullshit and misread the section for them, or they may have misread it. The post office also gives them some leeway. Informal snapshots from handheld cameras for personal use may, they don't have to be, but they may be allowed at the postmaster's discretion. Again, the postmaster can prohibit it, provided there is no disruption to postal service operations and that the pictures are taken from areas accessible to the public. In these cases, no prior permission is required from the Office of Rights and Permissions. You still have to get the postmaster's permission. However, no lighting or scaffolding may be set up, and no picture can depict any postal service employee, customer, security camera, or cover of mail. Postmasters may restrict any and all photography if they determine that it is disruptive or there are potential security concerns. So I hope you're getting the idea here. It's not like there is a a memo or a CFR that allows photography. Everything is designed to restrict photography. This restricts photography. Now, what happens if let's say you get in an argument like Shadowcam did. Let's say you get in an argument with the post office employee, postmaster, whatever, and you cause a disruption. Now, there's another section of this, Part E, disturbances, disorderly conduct, or conduct which creates a loud and unusual noise, or which impedes ingress or egress to or from the post office, or otherwise obstructs the usual use of entrances, etc., or which otherwise tends to impede or disturb the public employees in the performance of their duties, and arguing with them would impede or disturb them, or which otherwise impedes or disturbs the general public in transacting business or obtaining the services provided on the property is prohibited. And that is also reflected in Poster 7 under specific restrictions, disturbances. And there are penalties associated for both. Just remember, if you want to do this and get arrested so that you can challenge the constitutionality of the regulation, then that's fine. Have fun. But if you're not looking to pay fines, if you're not looking to go to jail, if that concerns you and you don't want to make that sacrifice, then you should be aware that whoever shall be found guilty of violating the rules and regulations in this section while on the property under the charge and control of the post office is subject to a fine as provided in 18 U.S.C. 3571. You'd be $5,000, up to $5,000, or imprisonment of not more than 30 days, or both. So you could be fined for each one, for filming and for causing a disturbance. You could be fined $5,000 each. You could be imprisoned 30 days each. So be aware of that. There are consequences to these things. It's not going to be easy being an auditor, especially if you're not wanting to pay fines or go to jail. Now, he also got into an argument in part 3 of this with the police. They were saying that the post office can trespass him, and he was saying no, they couldn't. Well, I hate to break this to him, but this is Wisconsin Statute 943.13, trespass to land, Part 1M, Part B, enters or remains on any land of another after having been notified by the owner or occupant not to enter or remain on the premises. The post office is the occupant of that premises. The station head or postmaster, installation head or postmaster, has the authority from the post office to trespass people under this statute. The fine for this, it's a Class B forfeiture, so the fine for it would be up to $1,000. So theoretically, I mean, if the U.S. government went after you for both of the regulations violations, that would be up to $10,000. This would be another $1,000, so we're at $11,000. And this is before you even hire an attorney. And then the city of Milwaukee itself has an ordinance. It's 110-10, trespassing upon buildings or premises. Prohibited generally, it shall be unlawful for any person within the city or within the limits of the city to go upon or remain upon the lands, buildings, or premises of another, or any part, portion, or area thereof, after having been forbidden to do so, or warned not to do so, either orally or in writing, by the owner or other lawful occupant, etc., 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 blah, blah, blah. The potential fine for that is up to $500. So we're at $11,500 maximum fine for doing what he did. Now, he seems like a nice guy. I don't bear him any ill will, and I support him in his right to expand your civil rights, my civil rights, his civil rights. I don't necessarily see any benefit to be gained by filming in the post office, but, that's his opinion. It seems to be important. So, I support him on his quest to expand your and my and his First Amendment rights. But I do want to point out that he is facing some pretty hefty penalties if he gets officers who really want to push it, or if he does push it in the post office and he attracts the ire of the postal inspectors. They may go after him on a warrant or something for it. So just be mindful, be aware. Again, please, for the love of God, talk to attorneys before you go out and do this kind of stuff so that you know what potential crimes that you may be committing, what potential penalties you may be facing. And also, before you get all upset over this and think that the post office is telling people one thing and then doing another, they're really not. Because remember, this saying that you're supposed to deny them the permission to film is exactly why this section on photographs for news purposes is under the specific restrictions category. That's exactly why the post office wrote the restriction on photography into their CFR. It wasn't to grant you the right to do it, it was to limit your right to do it. And taking it away entirely is a limitation on your right. So there you go. That said, happy auditing, have a great day, and be safe out there.